Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 1560.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about how AI is being used so far. Now, this might be a little different for a financial podcast, but hear me out. A couple years ago, I talked about AI being like the dot-com bubble plus the Y2K boom. And if you're too young to know what that means, it means that it's going to be a spectacular bubble financially in our future. So I want to report on AI's progress on the podcast, even though it's not showing up in a huge financial way with how it's being used right now by individuals. I do believe that will change in the future, and I want to follow this story and be reporting it to you as this unfolds, because this is one of the most important technologies of our lifetime. And recently, OpenAI did the first-of-a-kind study revealing how people are using ChatGPT for everyday tasks. Now, I believe as more and more people get used to using AI, they're going to incorporate it into their lives, and we're going to find new uses that we can't even imagine right now. Let's talk about this baseline of where we are. So in this OpenAI study, where it examined who was using ChatGPT and for what purposes based on internal messages sent to ChatGPT on consumer plans. And amongst the key findings from the National Bureau of Economic Research working paper was the surge in non-work-related messages, jumping to 73% in June of 2025 from 53% a year ago. OpenAI's chief economist, Aaron Chatterjee, said that the shift was a signal that ChatGPT is becoming part of many aspects of people's lives. He said, "We're still learning how people use AI in the wild, but this trend gives us a glimpse into where the value is and how it's shifting." So this study, which hasn't been formally scrutinized by other researchers or peer-reviewed, but was authored by OpenAI's economic research team and Harvard economist David Deming, and is said to have drawn on a large-scale privacy-preserving analysis of 1.5 million conversations. So here are the results of the most notable revelations in the study. While we might think that ChatGPT would be used for complex work tasks like coding, the study found that consumer usage of the chatbot has been largely about getting everyday tasks done. 3/4 of the conversations with ChatGPT monitored by the researchers were determined to have fallen into 3 broad categories of practical guidance, seeking information, and writing. Practical guidance was found to be the most common use case, with such uses encompassing requests for tutoring and teaching, how-to advice, and creative ideation. However, use cases varied depending on whether the chatbot was being used in the workplace or for personal benefit. For example, writing activities were found to be the most common use case at work, accounting for 40% of work-related messages on average in June. Meanwhile, rather than just using ChatGPT to write things from scratch, about 2/3 of all writing messages ask the chatbot to perform editing, critiquing, and translating for existing text. I want to pause there and say that's one of the ways I've used ChatGPT is when you have something difficult to say or something uncomfortable to talk about, or maybe something you want to be extra careful about, you can get ChatGPT to give you some suggestions of how they would say it. And 10 times out of 10, I've found that it's a much better way than what I was thinking or saying. The study also looked at ChatGPT usage patterns in the context of asking, doing, and expressing. As of July, about half of all messages fell into the asking category, which researchers said suggests that people value ChatGPT most as an advisor rather than only for task completion. However, for work-related messages, about 56% were classified as doing, which means the chatbot was used to perform certain job tasks, such as writing. The paper noted writing is a task that is common to nearly all white-collar jobs, and good written communication skills are among the top soft skills demanded by employers. The impact that AI models will have on the workplace has been a hot topic since ChatGPT was launched for consumers in November of 2022, with growing fears that the technology will be used to replace workers. However, researchers argued their findings showed that, at least in the case of consumer ChatGPT, it was mostly used to help improve judgment and productivity of workers, rather than replace all their tasks, especially in knowledge-intensive jobs. So who is using ChatGPT? Well, the study noted that as of July, ChatGPT's user base has grown to 10% of the world's adult population. Meanwhile, the demographic breakdown of these users has shifted, with the chatbots slowly becoming more universal across genders and national borders. For example, data from January 2024 showed that 37% of users had typically feminine names among users with names that could be read as either masculine or feminine. But as of mid-2025, that gender gap was found to have narrowed dramatically, with female adoption consistent with the general adult demographics. ChatGPT has also become more accessible globally, with especially rapid growth in low and middle income countries. This has resulted in adoption growth rates in the lowest income countries growing to over 4 times that in the high income countries as of May 2025. And besides different paid tiers on its consumer platform, ChatGPT also offers an enterprise product for businesses, API access, and a software engineering agent called Codex. Yeah, there's so many interesting uses for AI. I've actually incorporated AI in my remodeling project for my home. It created a whole remodeling budget for me, created a list of items that had to be done and in what order, and all of the materials that I need for my remodel. I mean, it was spectacular using it for that purpose, as well as using some of the visual aspects of AI to come up with potential suggestions for what the bathroom remodels could look like. We're still figuring out how to use AI in our everyday lives and how it can help us, but it sounds like some people have incorporated it in their work, and I certainly have incorporated it into my business. And while we're not seeing a lot of evidence of people using AI to make money, that chapter will be written and will be written soon. So I'll continue to report back to you on the progress that we're making with AI, but I'd say 10% of the world using it is a pretty spectacular statistic, and I expect will grow rather quickly. If you haven't yet subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified as soon as new podcasts are available. And all my podcasts are on my website at lindapjones.com/podcasts. And while you're there, sign up for my weekly newsletter for more wealth tips for your financial freedom. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.